Movies. The average person can be inspired by them. They can make us laugh. Movies can keep us on the edge of our seat, and so much more. Maddie's Movie Mix is a podcast for movie enthusiasts of all kinds. We hope you enjoy the show.
We're going to love on Tim Burton, Danny Elfman.
We should almost marry him.
We should.
Yeah.
But are they both alive?
Danny Elfman is.
Okay. Tim Burton?
I would assume so.
How about we just talk about Corpse Bride?
Speaking of which, if they're dead, just get married in the underworld.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
You can do that. I learned that in this movie.
Yeah.
But you can't be alive. One of you can't be alive and one of you dead and get married.
Except I didn't understand. There's so many, story-wise, it didn't make sense to me. Because weren't they technically married and then they got remarried, which was the issue? It was like a fake marriage, or like, it was like, oh, this marriage isn't actually official.
Right.
So that's what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was an elope kind of deal, and you can't elope in the underworld.
I'm so happy I can't just put a ring on something and just say, and it come alive, and all of a sudden we're married.
Do you do that often?
Well, I go in the woods.
Oh, boy.
Carry my extra ring and just, will you marry me? Actually, that's not true. I do not do that. Let it be
Somebody's
known
gonna take that
on the
context.
podcast that I don't go asking random things to propose to me. When I was a youth director in Winona, we went to NYC, which is in Rochester at the Civic Center, but we went to the mall.
What year?
One of them. Between 2012, probably 2014 and 2016.
Sure. I was probably there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool event. But, so what we did to kill time was we have them go to the mall and do a scavenger hunt.
Sure.
And so we don't just have them like, oh, go find 3 books, because that's boring. So we also had like different things of like, oh, go propose to a stranger. Because why not? Because they're kids. What I love about middle school kids is that, at least within the context, if you get excited about something and say, yeah, let's go do this, most of the time they're excited, like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
They were not excited to propose to someone randomly. So they said, like, you wouldn't do that. And so I went to the store and randomly proposed to someone. And the key is to propose to an employee because they can't leave.
Note to self.
In case that's ever on your list. You may eventually get escorted. That didn't happen to me, but only good things.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So tell me more. I want to learn more.
Well,
what was she like?
That's where my memory fails me. I think we went into, I don't even know. It was a store. I could tell you where it's at, but I can't tell you the name of the store. So if you go through the main entrance and then go all the way past what's currently the pretzel thing that are delicious, go past that a little bit and take a right. I think it was like the 3rd store in.
Sure.
I randomly proposed to someone. It was a narrow one, so it was kind of awkward because luckily there weren't a lot of
It was
people.
kind of awkward because it was a narrow store.
It wasn't the situation.
Okay, yeah. The situation had nothing to do with it.
And so I had basically a key ring is what I had to fake propose because I didn't have a real ring at that point. And
that's probably a good thing. I mean,
a relationship did not build off that. Her name is not Megan Krieger, or was Megan Krieger. And so, I proposed and she laughed and we awkwardly just left. And I checked it off my list.
Did you then explain? Or you just...
Well, I had kids surrounding me. I think she understood the context.
All right. So similar age?
I think so. I didn't ask. You can't ask a woman her age. You got slapped. However, one of the kids that were in it tried to be creative and tried to propose to a mannequin. And I said that didn't count.
Right.
It had to be live. We're not dealing with this corpse bride crap. We're dealing with human flesh.
All right. Good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back on track.
That's right. Corpse's Bride. Tim Burton. Produced and co-directed.
You're right.
Co-directed.
Doesn't like the pressure of full direction.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. His films are distinct, but he only, at least the 2 that we've currently reviewed and looked into further,
Right.
He did a lot of the producing, but not necessarily all the directing.
And writing, I think, too, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, this is another one that had music with Danny Elfman.
Yep.
So, again, it's that question of how is it a true collaboration where they're more working together? But then you'd think maybe the produced by would be take Danny Elfman in it. I don't know how that whole thing works. I didn't see who it was written by.
Either. It was written by Tim, wasn't it?
It was, but maybe it was like Tim Burton and Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. I think that it's really cool that they do these projects together because they turn out pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they have a good pairing.
Yeah.
The creepy music and then the creepy atmosphere.
Exactly.
Blends perfectly.
So, Johnny Depp did a voice.
Yeah, he did. The main one.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't super impressed with it.
No.
But
it was this film was actually like, I just felt creepy in it. Not in it, but like watching it.
You were in it?
Yeah. I was the bone dog.
At 11 years old?
That's right.
Roof, roof, roof. Good work. Good work, Tyler.
All right, well, clearly they didn't have a lot of scenes of me in it, so I don't think the dog was in there much.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
$40 million budget.
Yep.
Grossed $118 million.
Almost tripled. You can watch on HBO Max.
Did well.
It did. I mean, story was awful. If I'm being honest,
yeah,
like
the story was weird. Yeah.
Super strange.
Yeah.
I can get on board with Love at First Sight because I love rom-coms. And it's funny to see the situations that come out of that. But this was not that situation.
Right.
So she did the Love at First Sight thing with
It's a little bit of a Fatal Attraction.
Yeah. Getting it. With Victoria, right? That was the female, the live female.
Victor and Victoria.
No, that can't be right.
It is right.
Make me second guess everything. So he was nervous doing everything, but then she met sparks fly. And then he goes propose to a tree that apparently was a hand. And now he's married to Emily. All right, we're going to do a quick synopsis of this movie.
Go for it.
Spoiler. In case you haven't seen it.
We figured it's like 18 years old almost, so.
Yeah. Has a super weird relationship with Emily.
A tree.
A tree that comes to life, that brings him to the underworld.
Skeleton, partially.
Yeah. And apparently he's the only person that can be alive and in the underworld. Because he can bring the parents without killing them. Mm-hmm. Super strange. Why not? Let's just have them propose to a tree and pull them underneath.
Right.
And then has a weird relationship. They grow closer. But mentally I knew they weren't going to be together. But then he goes back to...
Was that obvious?
I thought so.
It was.
Yeah. I'm not the best at picking up clues. So then he tries to run away from Emily in a forest. Says, oh, just wait, I'll be back. Goes back to Victoria and says, oh, I'm still in love with you. I got married to a tree, and I really don't want to be. The tree kidnaps him, and now Victoria is just in shock, as any woman would be seeing a person kidnapped by a corpse tree. And then pulls him back to the underworld. And then they pull up the scheme of the only way you can actually be married together, because apparently the whole thing was fake to begin with. Surprise, surprise.
Fake news.
Yeah. Is that life or death, but you were already dead. Surprise. Now Victor has to die. And so Emily plans the whole thing to kill him, goes up to the tree led by the good Christopher Lee, and then, because he was guarding the church, and then everyone came in. And then, even though Emily was all in of like, oh, we were meant to be, happens to see Victoria for a second time and decides, oh, it's actually true love. You should be marrying her. And I realize I'm doing the same thing that I did to this jerk, who we're now going to see in about 5 seconds. But you guys should be married together. Backtrack, Victoria and this jerk gets married together. they both, or the jerk is like, I married you for the money. And she's like, I don't have any money. And then she's like, well, this sucks. And then storms off. And then he comes back at the end. And is like, oh, but she's my wife. And I don't want to be married to anyone else.
Right. And I didn't get that. Did they actually get married?
Yeah, they did.
So that was the official ceremony.
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, so they had officially got married previous to the ceremony between Victor and Emily.
Right.
And then, surprise, surprise, the jerk was the one that left Emily at the beginning.
Yeah.
There was so many things where I was like, this is just stupid.
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was kind of fun to watch. But yeah.
Watching the dead people interact with each other was very entertaining.
It was yes.
That was super cool to see with, like, again, the person who was just the head that had like little maggots walking around, where the maggot was also the subconscious of Emily. Super neat.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. It was odd.
It was odd.
I mean, Tim Burton.
Well, again,
odd.
Yes.
But entertaining.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there wasn't anything that I really noticed that was like gross or bad or anything like just that way. I mean,
right.
So,
and normally I could care less. And
bad guy loses, good guy wins.
That's right,
kind of thing.
Well, I don't know where he went at the end. What are you going to do with the dead person? Or like, what are the dead people going to do with the dead person?
Well, that was the bad guy,
right?
Yeah. So I don't know. There was some like knives and forks, and
I don't think they could feel anything. It's all strange to me.
It is.
It's again normally story like
doesn't have
musical
to work.
Doesn't matter to me, but there was just enough things where I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. What the heck is going on? And it was my first time watching it.
Same.
Yeah.
Like I just watched it.
Oh really?
Yeah. Like last night.
Yes.
So
I watched it yesterday too. Watched them back to back.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did I.
Yeah. Super good. But so anyways, so we're not going to do actor chemistry with this one again, right?
Again.
Yeah. It's specifically even with Tim Burton's, it's just weird because it's more like we talked about earlier.
Well,
it's
the
just
animation,
blocky and animation just doesn't work well.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4.0.
Okay.
I'm giving it a little bit higher than it maybe deserves.
Okay.
But I thought it was creative how they did some of the shots and different things with it. Made it look good on screen and stuff, where some of the shadows of the, like specifically where some of the dead people were coming in and some of those things. It's animated, I know, but it still looked good on screen. There's got to be a cinematographer.
And so the difference with this one too is there's not a lot of. I wish there would have been more distinction between, like, besides the people looking slightly different from the underworld to like the main world.
Yeah,
it seemed a little too similar to me.
Yeah,
so that's where
they were blue.
Yeah,
in the underworld,
which just seemed odd.
Yeah,
like I understand their whole body is blue, but I wish they would have done more to really accentuate, because there's a few times when they was flipping. The only reason that I knew it was the underworld was because canonically Victor was still there. Like you hadn't seen him venture off to the overworld. So that was the one area that cinematography wise, lighting and stuff like that, I wish there would have been more of a distinguish between the two. So I gave it a 3.8, but there was a lot of stuff I did like with it. But I wish they would have done more, especially because films like this are pretty dark. So there's a lot of areas for them to make things stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So it was good music. I don't think it was as memorable as some of the other stuff that he's done.
But it fit really well.
Yeah.
And there was good background stuff going on for music too.
Yeah.
For me.
I gave it a 4.2.
Okay.
I can't think of any of the music right now that came from The Corpse's Bride, which maybe is just a personal flaw.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take personally.
Okay.
Some of the piano stuff, I really like the piano sequence when, Emily, I think, was feeling down because she realized that, Victor doesn't really want to be with her, which Duh. And
not the brightest bulb in the underworld.
She should have listened to her subconscious worm. And so then Victor played the piano, and then they kind of had the duet thing going. Is that what I said?
I need to correct you. You said worm. It's a maggot.
Oh, it is a maggot.
Just saying.
I don't even want to go there right now. I don't know science.
It's a dead maggot.
But is it dead?
It's got to be. It's in
I
the underworld.
suppose. That makes sense.
But it was...
It's strange. Maggots can't talk in real life. At least
yes,
none
they
that
can.
I've experienced.
They talk to me all the time.
Let me eat your flesh.
Something like that.
That was probably my favorite scene in the movie, was that interaction.
Yeah. Makes
Did you
sense.
give the score? No. You should talk.
I don't want to talk. I'm having fun
right,
listening.
Let me just be the maggot. That's really like the music.
Music. Danny Elfman, there wasn't as much singing in this as I kind of thought there might be.
Right.
But there was a lot. The piano stuff was great.
Yep.
That made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it did.
Things like that. So I'm a 4-1 on it just because I like Danny Elfman.
Yep.
I think that's probably a bias, but
right.
I just do.
He's a good composer.
Yeah, for sure. And it just it seemed to fit really well. It didn't like. Well, we have Doctor Strange multiverse of madness.
Keyword madness.
Weird music. Like didn't go. Anyway, that's my point, right? Like this, it just blended in really well. This was great. So 4-1.
I think he may have directed or composed.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Okay.
We talked about that on right.
Yeah.
No, I'm
sorry.
99.
I was just trying to reflect back. We're talking all these praises of Danny Elfman, and then you're like,
I like
Doctor Strange sucked,
but it just sucked.
It did. It was awful
all the way around.
Yeah.
The music itself was great.
Yes, it was.
I think that's probably almost exactly what I said on that podcast.
I agree.
But it didn't. The film and. He did the right thing fitting the music to the film, but the film was terrible in my view.
Yeah.
And it was lazy writing in my view.
All around was awful.
Yeah, just no.
But Corpse's Bride.
In fact, I don't think they're going to do a third Doctor Strange because of how horrible it did.
I don't think so either.
Is my understanding, or at least they're pushing it off quite a while.
I think whole Phase 6 is getting pushed a bit.
Yeah.
She-Hulk also sucked. I have not liked any Marvel film since. Okay, Spider-Man: No Way Home, phenomenal.
Yeah, that was great.
But ever since Endgame, the only ones I've enjoyed positively were No Way Home and Shang-Chi.
Yeah. For me, it was entertaining. I won't watch it probably again. Maybe.
I think there's a chance you'll watch it again.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I might be doing something else, like, watching a podcast or something on YouTube.
Yeah. But that sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
I probably will not watch this again.
I was surprisingly impressed with it, how entertained I was by it.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would like either of them that we've done Nightmare Before Christmas and now this Corpse Bride, but I did. I was surprised. I mean, there's a lot of things that fit together well. The story didn't, but there's a lot of things that were fun. And
the animation was. We talked about Nightmare Before Christmas that it could be released now, and you wouldn't really know the difference.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about Corpse's Bride being 12 years later, the animations were a little bit smoother.
Yes.
Which was nice to see.
And I wonder
the facial expressions and stuff like that.
I wonder, was that purposeful? Because the animation was different.
It was.
Just in general was different. But was it smoother on purpose?
I would think
or just
so.
Because of technology?
I would think it's a mix, probably.
But look at, in the early 90s, the X-Men and Batman animation and some of that kind of stuff. It was pretty good.
I love the Batman. The animated series.
So I think you can do it well.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like from the 60s or
That's
something.
true. And going back to the claymation side,
kind of, it was
Nightmare Before Christmas was a lot more claymation style, and this one was more just creepy.
Yeah. So
I can see that.
Anyway, I'm a flat 4.
Okay.
On overall entertainment for me. So
I gave it a 3.9.
Okay.
Again, we watched them back. We watched both of these back to back. I watched Nightmare Before Christmas first, which maybe was a mistake because I knew I enjoyed that film.
Yeah.
And then I watched The Corpse's Bride, and when I just look at both of them together, I just think the other one's so much better. And I know some people are able to put their little brains in waffles and
compartmentalize.
Put things in compartments.
Compartmentalize.
But I can't do that well. And so I was like, it's just not as good. And so I gave it 3.9.
Yeah. A little bit lower, it's a 3.6 because there was a few of those things that just didn't mesh well enough. The story didn't mesh well enough for me. With some of the other things that were fun, even though it was entertaining, the story just didn't go along real well. Just disconnected in that way. So I don't know.
I also gave it 3.6. I hated the story.
Yeah,
it got me. It pulled me out a few times.
Sure.
Which again,
I can totally see that.
Normally, I don't care about musicals, and it's not even something I think about. But there was just enough stuff that happened beat after beat, and I was like, well, I could give you a pass here and maybe a pass there, but now you're just continuing to do it. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. It was almost like some of the story was like, oh, maybe we should do this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that.
We haven't used this character for a little bit, so let's just pull him back.
Yeah.
Even the whole antagonist wasn't necessarily necessary.
Right.
You could have just removed that character and have the focus specifically being on the relationship between Emily and Victor and Victoria, and then the clash that causes between the two females.
Right.
Which would have still been an enjoyable film.
That'd have been a knife fight.
Yeah, buddy. And where are they going to go if Victoria dies? Oh, we're now all together in this love triangle.
That's a different film.
That is a different film. One I might watch.
What? What rom-com is that?
You said it was a different film.
Yeah, I figured it was a rom-com. You probably,
out of there, all the rom-coms involves a love triangle.
Right, exactly. But if you want to, comment or snide remarks, especially, we enjoy.
Yeah, tell us how much we were wrong about this film.
Legit Q at Maddie'sMovieMix.com. It's on the screen if you're watching. Can you see it?
I can't see it.
All right. Well, we'll see you later.
Hammer the share button. Go ahead and hammer out a comment to us. Go ahead and hammer the like button. Go ahead and hammer the subscription button. Go ahead and hammer the notification bells, because you know what? That's the best way you can support us. We appreciate it.